Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. What a time to be alive. We have Clare Crawley, former Bachelorette, and Maria Georges, the Bachelorette that never was, clapping back at Nick Viall, the former Bachelor. We love a little mess in the neighborhood, and boy, do we have it serving right now. It's giving ridiculous. Okay, I'll never say that again. All right, let's get into it. How did this all go down? Well, I'm going to share what Maria initially said to kick it off. Then I'll share Nick's response. And Clare's response might be the funniest. You don't mess with Clare. What else can I say? She just goes for the jugular. Here's what Maria had to say on one of the biggest podcasts in the world, Call Her Daddy.
Shoot her to you right now. Part of me was like, was this all planned? Because I was like, I knew I was innocent. Like, I knew I was innocent, hand to God. So when this all started happening, and then imagine dealing with that in the house, and then coming out and seeing that she's friends with Nick, I was like,
right, because Nick had told you
there's something conspiring here.
Okay, so you walk someone through that maybe didn't watch the show. You're basically saying you're seeing Nick Viall like tell you you're going to potentially be the villain.
Yes.
Then you're seeing Nick Viall be friends with the girl.
All right, so they go over the conspiracy that Nick had something to do with making Maria the villain. Nick's response is, no, idiot. It's the fact that you do villain-like things. Now, I wouldn't get mad at Maria. She didn't really have much animosity in the way she covered this conversation. But Nick's audience, Nick's sort of like a team of, team of producers, whatever the hell you want to call this sort of community he's got here with the cowboy boots on, they take it personally. Have a listen.
I did not expect to hear kind of bizarre conspiracy about me. I did not have that on my bingo card last week following my wedding.
This seems so highly edited. Just in the first 5 seconds, I saw 3 random cuts there. I wonder how long it takes them to make these episodes. It seems like, I don't know about you guys. I like to just talk, and if I flub, I keep going. But it seems like too much here.
Address conspiracy from one there. Maria Georges on her appearance on Call Her Daddy. That was something.
I didn't know you were a producer on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't know you were this is giving Gossip Girl.
I'm not, yeah.
Can we ask more, or who cares?
No, you can ask more.
I don't know about any of this.
And you're better off.
So this is Maria from The Bachelor, this recent season. And she basically went on Call Her Daddy. She said that she had history with Nick. I don't know if you want to clarify that history.
I'm seeing 7 different people. Am I counting this right? Are there 7? There's 7 different people here.
She said what was true is that we were friends, and that friendship was mostly me giving her relationship advice. And Alex Cooper, friend, was gracious enough. We're literally on the flight back from our honeymoon from hell, and I get a text from Alex being like, "So just like a heads up, like I think." Alex knowing that we had just gotten married. She's like, Maria mentions that you guys had, knew each other. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like Alex texted me to tell me that Maria said we knew each other and that we didn't hook up, which was also accurate. But she didn't tell me and then I found out about this conspiracy that Maria came up with, which was
so she said that Nick was friends with Sydney, which was like her arch nemesis on her season. And that because Nick in the past had said that you would make a good villain.
Yeah, that is true. Long ago, I did tell Maria, because Maria used to always ask me to get her on the show.
He exposes that Maria always asked him to get her on the show. Interesting. Well, it makes you wonder, are these people friends with Nick, or are they just trying to leverage what they can to do what they can do? I mean, I wouldn't blame her for that, and I wouldn't blame him for calling her out. It gives messy.
I did tell her that I could see her being the villain. And somehow that turned into Maria thinking that in my 0 free time and not knowing that she was on the show, that somehow I made it my mission to...
Yeah, so she had a conspiracy that you knew her arch nemesis.
So here's the big problem. And by the way, shout out to Amy for actually getting me this gavel here. You guys can't believe how awesome you guys are. I've got a gavel here. So Amy gave me this. So we will be adjudicating what goes down right here. But so... The big issue here, and again, maybe we're picking at straws, is that a term? Is that Maria had a fun conversation about this conspiracy, maybe he was involved, and then Nick's response is actually way more serious about hey, I don't have any free time. How the hell would I? And it's like, I totally understand his point of view, but like you're making it, I think, more than it needed to be here. And the more they kind of explain it, the more they bring in other people like Clare Crawley
through Ashley Guy, and that you were producing the show or knew somebody, and you got her arch nemesis on the show to make her the villain for her season.
It's perfectly fair. I mean, Sydney got on the show in part because she was friends with Ashley. Nick's much higher up. Nick can get somebody's attention if he wants someone to be on the show. That's absolutely true. Hey, my buddy would be great on this, blah, blah, blah. He could send that off to any number of people and it would get in the right hands. Sure, he's not making the final choices, but I think that's totally fair to think. So we do have connective tissue that Nick told Maria she'd be the villain, and then on Maria's season, they really tried to make her the villain or make her the center of a kind of weird storyline, call it a villain or not. So you can't hate her for feeling like there's a conspiracy there.
But she also wasn't the villain.
No.
So
yeah,
there's that. I mean,
so she wasn't the villain, but she was treated in a way that was very damaging to her mental health. And now we're gonna find out. Now the snark really picks
It's
up.
just giving delusional, honestly. At the end of
So Natalie says it's giving delusional. Like you said, I've been saying this as a joke. It's giving messy or whatever. Trust me, this will not be in my vernacular. I am way too old to be talking like these kids. I mean, Natalie's a mom though. She said it's giving delusion. What are we? Can we finish a sentence over here?
But what's interesting, I did see a clip from the episode because, like, I guess Maria's big thing was she couldn't understand why years ago I said, well, I think if you were to go on the show, I could see you being the villain. I mean, it's also like not that complicated. Like to be the villain on The Bachelor, it's like we're not talking about real life villains here.
True.
It's reality TV. To be the villain on The Bachelor, all it takes is a big personality, a willingness to, be unapologetically yourself and not shy away from conflict or drama, which we saw from Maria this season.
What's interesting with Nick is he was the villain without a big personality. So, but he has a good point. There are ways to easily make a villain, a Corinne, a Demi. Those villains, they become someone who's not afraid to tell it like it is.
So it's not that complicated. But I thought it was kind of funny that on the same episode, Maria suggested that she was the fourth runner-up. What is it? Fourth runner-up? Fifth?
Fourth runner-up.
Yeah.
Fourth runner-up.
She was the fan
fourth.
favorite too.
Yeah, she was a
Everybody
fan
wanted-
favorite.
They say Maria was the fourth runner-up. Okay, so they mean in this not for the Bachelorette, but in Joey's eyes. Okay.
She was fourth. So Rachel, Daisy, and Kelsey all went further than her. And on this episode, she, I guess, suggested or kind of flat out said,
She said that I felt like I needed a way out. I could have gone farther with Joey.
Okay,
So
so-
she insinuated that she used Jen kissing Joey as an excuse to leave.
so Maria said I could have gone farther. Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, I'm curious what Rachel would have to say about, or Daisy would have to say about Maria saying I could have gone farther. And Maria, if you're wondering why I thought way back when, if you could be the villain, you saying I could have gone farther if I wanted to is the type of energy that would put a target on your back. In that type of environment. And
Right.
that's all it takes. It's not that complicated. But I did not expect to have to face that type of questioning on the week of my wedding.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Maria was checking Nick's calendar before she told her truth on one of the biggest podcasts out there.
What did she say about her turning down The Bachelorette?
That she was already doing fittings for the show. Everybody was on the same page that she would be the Bachelorette. And then she was just like, why am I not happy? Like, why does this not feel right? And basically made the conclusion that this wasn't the right time to be doing it. So she pulled herself out last minute.
She said something about, she also knew how badly Jen wanted to do it.
Yeah, that Jen was like super single and a fun girl and her best friend during the process. So
Do you believe that story?
No. I couldn't imagine getting all the way up to fittings and how many people, like, for the production of it all, then be like, you know what? I really think somebody else deserves this more. I don't.
So what's happening now is they're drifting away from the source material. They're creating scenarios that weren't said and then giving their take on those scenarios, which I have to say, nobody's podcast does this better than Nick's.
buy it.
Yeah. And her story, to summarize, is basically she's doing these fittings, she's prepping for The Bachelorette, and then had an epiphany that she's too happy with her current life, and also that Jen desperately wants it. So
more summarization. I believe my guess is with Maria, she didn't realize how triggered she would be by being back in that environment, and she didn't realize how little trust she had for the producers. That's my guess. This is just one of those, principles where the truth is probably the most obvious. Not that she had some giant epiphany with her, I had an epiphany, I'm better than this. I don't think it was that. I think she said, juice ain't worth the squeeze here. Y'all aren't letting me be me, and this isn't what's good and conducive for my mental health. Someone let Nick know you don't have to subject yourself to situations you don't want to be in.
Out of the kindness of her heart.
So snarky.
Which it's possible.
I think it's possible she declined it because I
believe that.
in my head, if she was turned down or not offered it, she wouldn't have been so like peaceful about it at the Woman Tell All.
Yeah. I just think there's another version to this story. I think that's definitely Maria.
Nick thinks there's another version to the story because he sees the world through a cynical lens, which does make for good podcasting, but it does make for negative snark, right?
It's truth. In my experience with the show, I don't know anything specific about what happened between Maria and the show and why she turned it down, but in my experience, like the few instances where someone was meant to be the lead and in the last minute there was a switch, I only know that experience from when the show decided that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. In terms of they very much value their ability to work with their lead. It's a long process, and so they need to, they've worked with difficult people in the past, but at the times where the show went a different direction, and it's entirely believable that Maria turned it down, but I've never heard of that version. Also, you imagine how difficult it might be to work with someone who, instead of thinking it was possible that they could rub anyone the wrong way, that it was more believable to this person that their own friend, who they hadn't spoken with in several years, for no other reason than to prove himself right, decided to come up with this elaborate conspiracy theory.
False dichotomy. Objection, Your Honor. Completely off point. So Maria made 2 points. She made one that she thought there was a conspiracy to make her the villain. It was a fun kind of conversation. Yeah, I feel like I met Nick and he told me I'd be the villain, and then I was the villain. Ipso de facto, I'm the villain. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then there's another, which was Maria. Which was Maria saying, hey, I don't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze here. So Nick then makes it seem like that's all connected. Now, those are two different things here. But this is what a cynic does. A cynic will just like Maria linked together things that might not have been true, but it made sense logically that Nick said I would be the villain and then I was the villain and then Sydney's actually friends with Nick. Maria put that connective tissue together. Nick's cynical brain puts together the cynical connection here, that everybody's out for their own good and everybody's bloodthirsty and hungry because that's the world he sees.
As to why she might have rubbed some women in the house the wrong way. That person might be challenging. So
yeah.
I also heard through some friends of ours who are close to the source that filming with her was close to filming with Clare Crawley.
Whoa.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's kind of saying.
Yeah.
So take
Do
that
you know who
with
Clare
what you
Crawley is?
Guessing it was a little tough with Claire.
A little tough with
Claire was famous.
These poor guys have just been left out of the conversation on the couch. Why are they there? How many do they have a group on for guests? Like, how many people do they need?
Say the only Bachelorette who quit a week into filming.
No way.
Yeah. Which kind of tracks with Maria. I mean, Maria quit even before filming started.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing your fittings, you're the Bachelorette. You're the Bachelor. You're the lead. You're filming. I mean, they're taking content.
By the way, you've also 100% signed contracts.
Well, they will often, multiple people will sign contracts.
I see.
All right, so they say that there are former leads that were difficult, and then they flat out call out Clare Crawley as someone who quit the show. Clare has been adamant with her conversation regarding mental health and the issues that come along with the show. So Clare's exit and what Clare went through, not necessarily just leaving with Dale, but dealing with the show. And we could see on camera all the anxiety she had. We believed it to be anxiety based on dating these men and all of the things that come along with that. But Could it be that there was anxiety from dealing with the producers and not being comfortable in the position they were putting you in? Clare responds, folks. So Clare responds, and so does Maria. Maria responds first and says, quote, "You're so delusional." Her honest reaction, and then there it is, my honest reaction. And again, if I, as an elder millennial, I would say that reaction is, "Yep, I own it. I'm a little delusional," which really is the best answer. Brevity is a virtue here. So she responds unfazed. And that's the way to do it. Clare responds with text messages. Someone posted to Clare, oh, so she had already said something about how, oh boy, I don't know if I can get in all the way on this. Some people are described as difficult and, whatever. She responded with a quote here. I had it yesterday. It looks like it's gone. But that quote basically was like, oh, yeah, being difficult is not a bad thing. So someone said, get it. The convos around women, especially former bachelorettes, being too much of anything are a lot. Too emotional, too difficult, too indecisive. Nick making money off making it hard for women to not get people in their comments. I don't know what that means, but the response from Clare. Tale as old as time. If standing up for yourself, having boundaries, and not letting people take advantage of you is considered being difficult, then I don't know what to say. I can only pray these people raise a child that is capable of being difficult for others in order to stay true to themselves. Damn, that's from the top rope. Clare invoked their child into it. Oh, man. But hey, what's the right thing to do? Clare was brought up by Natalie here. I'm assuming this isn't the same thing.
Was white.
No, so I think that's all Clare was going to say about that. But Clare was brought up by young Natalie here, and she wasn't having it. And she said, I hope you guys raise a daughter that's not as catty as you guys. It's kind of what that was kind of what she was saying, right? Am I reading between the lines here? That was interesting. I get Nick's perspective that as a podcast host, he's going to have the fodder. I do the same thing. If people talk about me, I'll make twice as long content. We'll monetize the hell out of it. I totally get that. But he also, I think, made it a little bit more than what Maria was trying to make it. And also kind of let his producers do all the fighting for him, which is kind of slimy, right? He let that new producer guy talk. He let Natalie and he let the other producer all get their shots in. And meanwhile, he was kind of like the middleman in it. I don't know. The kids might say it's giving Mean Girl. Give me a like on this video. I'll be live on Patreon at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, patreon.com/Dave Neal, and we'll have a public live as well going over some new documents in the Clayton Ecker paternity scandal. We'll see you guys then.